Abbas is here! What happened?
You okay?
Good to see you, bro.
Good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here, man. Long time.
Yeah, it has been.
You were at the crash course in 2019?
Yes, I was.
Then the DFE?
Yes.
Come on through. Oh, wow!
Sorry for the...
Oh, wow, thank you. That's very kind. Hey, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. We have another Winners on a Wednesday story, and I want to introduce you to Abbas and Sahar, and they're going to share their story of how they have become successful in property. They have hired now 9 full-time members of staff. They've got a lot of units in Birmingham right now. So welcome to Abbas and Sahar. Good to have you on the show.
Well, thank you for having us here.
Thank you.
Well, firstly, congratulations on your wedding last year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, congratulations on your success in property. I couldn't even remember how many units you had because it's ever growing so fast. So you've got 9 members of staff.
Yep.
And how many property units have you got?
We have 250 units altogether.
Oh,
That
wow.
includes commercial as well.
200. No wonder I couldn't remember the number. You know,
Yeah.
really, well, that's really impressive. And you're doing rent to rents.
Yes.
Now moving into developments.
Yes.
So why don't you start by telling me a little bit about how this all started? Talk me through from the beginning.
Okay, I think my journey started somewhere around January 2019.
Yeah.
I came across a friend who told me about, I was always finding ways on how I can get into the business industry, right? A friend of mine suggested to me, boss, why don't you start reading books? He told me of a statistic that says that an average American reads probably 1 book a year, and they don't even finish the book by the end of the year. And their salary is probably around average minimum wage.
Yeah.
Then an average CEO reads 1 book a week. That's about 52 books a year. And he makes about 319 times more than an average American. I was like, whoa, I need to start reading books.
Yeah.
So I got into start reading books. Then I came across Robert Kiyosaki, went to his show. I came across a few guys on the way, and none of them were actually delivering what I was expecting. Like literally a guide on how I can start a business, how I can go through it and set up a solid business, right? I came across Sandy Jadeja, Paul McFadden. I paid some money, but it was all a fail. And then I came across Samuel Leeds on YouTube. And going through your content, like anybody watching this, like I'd say your content on YouTube is so valuable, the content there. I literally took that as a university, I would wake up early morning, till night, grab a book, sit in front of my laptop and just make notes. I did that for a couple of months because I think your shows were fully booked for at least 2 months or so, 2 to 3 months. So that was my day every day, spending time on your YouTube channel, learning everything, trying to figure out the formulas you were giving out, how to do the due diligence, what Sperm is all about. And before coming onto your show, I started making cold calls. And there was all just rejections and rejections and rejections. And then I came to your show, and then moving from there, the deal finding extravaganza, and I got my deal there, one of the deals there. So that's how really it started. It's all.
And at the time as well, that's awesome, by the way. I mean, you're living in Birmingham now.
Yes, I am.
Whereabouts were you living at this time?
So I was, at this time when everything was happening, I was in Dubai.
Right.
And that's where I've been born, raised. Dubai is my home.
Right. So how did you guys meet?
Well, she came down to London. Well, it's a long story. We've been engaged for 3 years.
Yeah.
We've been friends on social media first, introduced by a friend.
Yeah.
And then we met about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes, that's correct.
So,
and we just met during a gathering, and we just happened to see each other who we knew as on social media, but we hadn't really seen each other. So I think that was kind of like a spark in conversation. And at that time I was studying in Toronto. I was finishing off my degree, bachelor's degree. So we started texting, and then we decided to do things the right way. So we thought of like telling our parents about it and asking them, are they okay with it? Because we're very like, let's do things the right way, and let's, not do it. Yeah.
How did you feel, talking of the right way, when Abbas started saying, I'm going on these property courses, I'm watching Samuel Leeds on YouTube and going to property, like, how did you feel about that as the fiancé of really involved in the future? Like, what was your thoughts?
So I do come from a family who is very business oriented, and in my family I've always seen everybody working really hard.
Yeah.
And they're all proper workaholics. So when he would say this, I would be so motivating, like I would love it. I'd tell him, go for it, do it. I'm so happy, and I'd tell him that, one day you're gonna be on the show, you're gonna see it's gonna happen, you can make wonders. So I always made him feel like,
She was extremely supportive. Like, I'll tell you that when I wanted to go on the shows with Robert Kiyosaki, Paul McFadden, I paid £2,000-3,000 and I got burnt there because they didn't deliver. And then there was 3 shows not delivered, so it was all a burn. And then I came across you and I was so convinced that this is it. This is going to work. But then I didn't have the money in my bank account at the time.
Yeah.
So me borrowing money again for the DFE would have been a big step, considering that I've just lost so much money.
Right.
But she was there. She's like, you have to do it. If you're convinced, you have to do it. So she's been extremely supportive.
And when you did my advanced training, the deal finding extravaganza, it
Yeah.
was against thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
Was it a burn?
No. Well, I'm here now, so it's been extremely worth it.
So what happened? Because this is like, when did you attend the deal finding extravaganza?
I think I came to your show in August 2019, and then I came for the DFE in December.
Okay, so very back end of 2019, so about 18 months ago.
Yes.
You say that you did your first deal on the deal finding extravaganza.
Yeah. Yes.
Tell me about it.
Okay, so I came across one of your students, Ricky Mandel.
Yes.
Right? He was talking about how he had about 300 rejections at the time until he got his first deal. But I was at a point where I had crossed over 700 to 1,000 rejections. I'd wake up in the morning, start cold calling every day. The thing that a big mistake I made was that I wasn't understanding the difference between sales and closing. Right. Once they tell me I'm not interested in corporate lets, I just hang up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't understand to empathize with them and say, hey, I understand you don't do corporate lets. And if I was you as an agent, I probably wouldn't do corporate lets myself because of all the bad experience you've probably had. But let me explain you how we do it differently. I didn't have that initially. So all those rejections, I was like, okay, what can I do different? Because I didn't have that knowledge at the time. So let me wear a suit and tie, and I started knocking on their doors. I probably covered about mostly all the areas in Birmingham, Kings Heath, Solihull, Selly Oak, Moseley, everywhere. Knock on all their doors and rejections over rejections, until I came across an agency in Selly Oak where I'd knocked on their door probably 5 times until they gave me my first deal.
So you were really hustling.
Yes.
Getting rejected 1,000 times, spending lots of money on training and feeling you weren't getting anywhere. You came to the crash course. A lot of people would have been so deflated at that point.
Yeah.
There would have been, what was it that kept you going and what was it that gave you hope?
Okay, first thing, I came across either your video or Grant Cardone's video that said that if you believe you're going to make it in life, why not start recording it from day one so that when you're done with it, you can just look back and see what you've done. So the moment I crossed about 400-ish rejections, and I saw that video, that moment I started recording myself. Now bear in mind, at that time I used to live in a house share with 8 other people. So I was sharing 2 bathrooms with 7 other guys. My room was basically about 150 square foot, so single bedroom. That was my office, my bedroom, it was everything. Yeah. And that's where I started recording my journey. What made me hustle through, I think it comes to the entrepreneurship drive. It wasn't really about the money you make at the end of it, it was rather the game. It's like, why can't I figure this game out? Like curiosity. I think that was it. It's just the entrepreneurship drive that one has within himself. Yeah, well, congrats, keep going. What did you think when he landed his first deal?
Oh, I was over the moon. I still remember, this just took me like a way back in memory lane, and I was so happy for him. And, because I saw him go through that, there was a time where he had a choice of coming to see me because it had been 8 months since we hadn't seen each other. But that's because he was so busy with work, and he had a chance, or he invests that same money into, doing something with you and, buying books and personal development. So I told him, do that, So I was very happy that it worked out. Like, I felt like,
So he's saying that he used all the money that he had, instead of going on a flight to Dubai to see you, instead he used it going on a course to see me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Knowledge is key.
Yeah, but again, I also think that sometimes it's hard for me, because when people are in that kind of situation whereby they've not got a lot and they've been burned before, maybe through mistakes or through rejections or whatever it might be, and then they're like, this is the last bit of money I've got. For me, that's a real responsibility.
Yeah.
Because I'll either be, a saint or I'll be Satan.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't work, I'll be one of those guys that will be like, I went on your course, it didn't work.
That's true.
But I'm very confident in the training.
Yeah.
I'm very confident that it works.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, look, it's not a guarantee. You're going to have to put the work in.
That is
but
true.
It's an opportunity. It's a process, not a promise. I can't guarantee it's going to work, but I can guarantee my track record.
Yeah.
You know, and thank God that you had the hope and then went and took the massive action.
Yeah.
So that first deal then, where did you say that was?
In Selly student market.
Tell me about that first deal.
Okay, so I think after me building rapport with them, they gave me the first property. That was just the first problem. Now became in the second problem. I knew how to advertise on Spare Room, but I wasn't getting any leads. I got 3 weeks grace period at the time, and every 2-3 days I would start recording myself at the time, not posting anything, but just recording for my own self and seeing where I was. When I look back through the videos, I'm like, every day I was so worried because the contract I'd signed was 1,560 for the month.
Yeah.
And within the first 10 days maybe, I had no lead, no tenant confirmed. I was scared. I was scared. The fear was so real.
Yeah.
I started getting desperate then, so I started dropping the rents because I watched you say everything will rent if the price is right.
Yeah.
So I started dropping the prices down, got a few inquiries, brought them to the property, and they wouldn't be sold. So I started purchasing sales books and trying to learn how to sell.
Yeah.
Tried every different strategy I possibly could. I would say maybe I had about another 10 days before the rent period started. I was like, I need to do something else. So what I now did was printed leaflets with photographs of the property, staged it up really nicely, had some painting done on it, and I went around the neighborhood, spent about 5 hours walking into every shop and telling them, hey guys, we have a really nice property down the road. I'll give you a good discount. The code is this. I just made a code up and said, if you come down, I'll give you 10-15% discount. And I did that for every shop around the area. There was KFC, DFC, Papa John's, the carpet shop, everything.
You are relentless.
Yeah, it was crazy. I'd see students on the road and I'd ask him, hey, do you know anyone looking for a room? Here's a leaflet if you want one.
Yeah.
And they'll all be like, hey, no. They just walk away. So that was bad. I didn't get anything from there, but it was a learning curve. Outside the property, I'd try stick the leaflets there on the pole, stick it there. Anyway, long story short, as the grace period came to an end, I already paid the first month's rent anyway.
Yeah.
Before I had to pay the second month's rent, I had the property tenanted. So
Oh, wow.
that was so good.
So how long did it take to fully tenant the property?
I would say probably about 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
But I wasn't too worried because as soon as the first month really started, I already had 3 to 4 tenants that could at least cover the rent. The rest of it was margin.
So you say grace period. What do you mean by that?
The term I negotiated with the landlord, in this case the agent, saying that, hey, listen, I'm going to refurb the property for you and the landlord. And that behalf, could you at least give me 3 weeks rent free?
Right.
That buys me the time to refurb the property.
Yes.
So they were.
So how much money did you have to invest in total to secure that rent to rent?
Luckily, I didn't have to pay deposit, so that was great. First month's rent, it was $1,560.
Yeah.
With regards to the painting, of course, at the time I was starting up, so I didn't have funds. So I found a guy, I said, hey, we'll buy the paint, let's do it together. So the paint probably costed us about £20 a bucket. I would say save aside £200 for a 6-bedroom house painting. Staging material, maybe another £200. I staged 3 rooms up and then I'd move things around.
Yeah.
So I'd say probably just under £500 maybe, got it all up and running.
So very, very little money
Yes.
to get it up and running.
Yes.
How much profit did that start making you?
I was renting each room out for $400 to $430.
Yeah.
So on top of my head, say 6 rooms, that's $2,400. I'd pay the landlord $1,560.
Yeah.
So with the remaining, say £1,000, I would pay for the electric, gas, water, Wi-Fi, council tax, and a free weekly cleaner.
Okay.
So that would still be making me $600 to $750 a month.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Good first deal.
Yes.
And at that point, how did it feel again when realising I'm making profit now, I'm making £600-700 a month? Like, when did you realise that, yes, this is the real deal, this is happening?
As soon as it got tenanted, I was like, I want more now.
Right.
Okay? Because what I also did realise is when you get into something, you're not going to know it all. You will never know it all.
Yes.
I didn't know how to reference a tenant.
Yeah.
As soon as I had inquiries and the person said, I want a room, I was like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah. You know, it's interesting that you said as well, you said when you got that first property, you had another problem.
Yes.
We will always have problems.
Yes.
To begin with, the problem is I can't find a deal. Then the problem is I can't fill the rooms. Then the problem is I've got tenants that want to move in, but I don't know how to reference them.
Yes.
Then the problem is I need a next deal. Like, there's always problems. Then the problem is I've got too many deals, I need some staff. Then the problem is this staff isn't performing. Like, you're always going to have problems.
Yeah.
And sometimes people worry about as I say, the XYZ problem
Yeah.
when they should be worrying about the ABC.
ABC.
You know, and that's what we do at the deal finding extravaganza. It's very ABC. It's like, let's get a deal right now.
Yeah.
How did you find that first deal? Tell me exactly what happened.
The first deal.
Yeah, the one from the DFA.
Well, I just started picking up the phone because I think with your courses, one thing that is different is that you actually make the time, because you know the people, once they go back home, they're probably not going to make the time to make the call. So you encourage them saying, hey, we're going to take 20 minutes break, make the calls now.
Yeah.
So that was really great. That gave me some enthusiasm, some motivation, because truth be told, looking back now at that first point, I was scared to pick up the phone and just call an agent for a property.
Right.
I was like, what am I going to say? What if they call me a bluff? You know? But now looking back, I'm like, wow, that has been a great progression.
Yeah.
So I would say, the DFE really helped.
Yeah. And another thing as well is when you're in the right mood and the right environment and you've got people around that are also doing the calls, it's much easier to do it in that environment than when you get home and you forgot the scripts and the energy's different. So while you're in the right energy, it's like, do it now. And I'm really glad that got you a deal.
Yeah.
And then you ended up getting another deal and another deal and another deal. And now you've got 250 units.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. And you came on the discovery day, ran my house.
Yes.
We've done things. I mean, at what point did you realise, when did you realise that this is going good now?
To be honest, I realized it in the second deal because I told him that there's nothing you can't not do.
Yeah.
And when he explained to me the way you are and stuff, and I felt like, okay, you have the right mentorship, you're on the right path. There is no way that you're through. Like for me, in my eyes, he was through in the second deal.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying it because he's my husband, but I at that time told him, I was not worried. I was like, you'll make it, right? And I tell him this every day, you'll make it, right? Like you'll make it big. And
You need that support in life.
So I would say that, but I just felt that he made it through after the second deal.
Yeah.
Although I might sound very cheesy or very but I just felt that, and I would tell my parents as well. I'd be like, oh, Abbas is doing so great. He's, so yeah, for me, in my eyes.
Wow, that's so good. And I think, as you know, I always say your first deal is the hardest.
Yes.
And the second hardest is the second.
Yeah.
And then the third and the fourth and the fifth, it gets easier and easier.
It does.
So of your 250 units, what does that consist of?
We have a commercial block, 4 blocks combined together. 30 serviced offices there. We have HMOs ranging from 4 beds. No, actually, we got rid of all the 4 beds because that burnt me quite a bit. Right. We got rid of all the 4 beds. 5 bed, up to 32 bedroom HMO. We actually have one really nice one, 15 bed, all en suite.
Right.
We have apartment blocks, like 7 apartments all in one unit. We have newly constructed 13 apartments. So it really ranges from apartments to houses because we also manage a few properties.
Why do 4 beds not work too well out of interest?
Well, because that one in specific, Celio, in fact, that was my 3rd deal. It's the same agent. They were really happy with what I did. So I went back to them and said, hey, look, that's tenanted. I want some more. So they actually trusted me with 2 more on top of that. So that was amazing. But the 3rd one that they gave me, it was 4 bed, 1 bath. Next to the university, they wanted £800, right? We were managing to fill up 3 rooms out of the 4, and the tenants were paying about £350. Yeah. So if we were 1 room down, having all the bills, electric, gas, water, Wi-Fi, council tax, and the cleaner, we were not profiting.
Yeah, right, sure.
Yeah, so it was not worth it.
Yeah. So it's about getting that sweet spot deal.
Yes.
I need to talk to you actually. I'll get my wife to talk to you about some properties we've got in Selly Oak area, which we might be able to do some business on.
Yes.
But we can talk about that after the interview. So okay, what's going on now then? Like, what's the crack? What are you doing? Tell me about the staff that you've got and stuff.
Okay, so I came for the discovery day.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, Samuel, we're netting this amount. How do I 10x that now? Because we have all these units, but I'm not being able, because I do believe in mentorship, right? With all these things, what I've realized is the only way I managed to grow my income is when I grew my personal development, the knowledge, the skills. So you've taught me a lot. Yeah. And I realized you have many mentors. You have Grant Cardone. You had Sir, what's his name?
I've had so many.
You have loads, right?
Yeah.
So I decided I'll do the same. So I have you as my mentor. Grant Cardone, I paid for his mentorship program. I paid for Brandon Dawson's program paid for Jackie Edwards, and I have a few successful people within my community who I call for advice. For example, the first employee I wanted to hire, I was so worried. I was like, what if they steal everything I do and then go and start up their own business, right? I didn't know that I could set up a contract with them and have the non-confidentiality agreement, NDA agreement, and all these kind of stuff. So I get my ideas from everyone, and you advised me that rent-to-rent is a perfect model to start off with, right? But in terms of banking my first million, that may be slightly difficult or may take longer compared to if I went through developments.
Correct.
So I was like, all right, that's something. So I left this place and I was like, okay, I need to get into developments. But then again, it's starting fresh now, slightly fresh, because now it's a different ballgame entirely.
Yeah.
So I didn't also want to let go of the rent-to-rent that I was doing. I wanted to find out how else can I increase my revenue from the same model. Then after about 8 months of research, trying to get a contract with a local authority, we managed to get a contract for supported accommodation.
Right.
So it's the same model. We rent a property from a landlord, but rather than housing professionals, we house the homeless.
Yeah.
So it's a different ball game entirely in how we house the tenants, but the model is slightly similar. It's still a rent-to-rent. So these kind of tenants are homeless, depressed, alcoholics, drug addicts. We have to house them. We need to have support workers. The support workers need to be competent enough to help them eventually live independently.
Yeah.
So they need to give them support sessions every week, right?
Right.
How you keeping on, why you're not applying for a job, how are you stopping your drug abuse, all that kind of stuff that goes in place. So that's the business model we have, as well as the developments that we're trying to get through as well. So the scheme we're looking at now, it's in Aston. It's 37,000 square foot. Outline planning granted for 40 apartments.
Amazing.
So
50 parking spaces.
50 parking spaces.
That's great.
So that'd be
And that's the thing, you know, cash flow from rent to rents is great, but then moving on to really build wealth, I think it makes sense to step into that. And I love how you've also taken the strategies from the training, like rent to rents and HMOs, but then you've slowly adapted it into your own thing. Your own niche. And that's the thing, I think being an entrepreneur, yes, you have to follow a template, but also you have to have space for creative flair and things. So how would you say how's life changed from say 2 years ago to now?
So from engagement to married life?
Yeah, just everything. How's life different now?
So I would say that in terms of my drive that I had before, I think it's definitely increased a lot, because now I see him with a lot of work and everything, and I go to the office every day, and you know, I'm there and I'm making so many things happen. So I obviously am more like focused, more business minded than I was when I was engaged, because you know, when you're far, I can hear your stories but I can't feel you, because I'm not there to see you. But now when I came here and like, you know, it was all like, okay, this needs to be done, that needs to be done, you know, let's do this, let's do that. So I started going like, okay, let's try this, let's try that. So I feel like it's changed a lot. It's matured me. Yeah. I feel, and you know, the wealth of knowledge that I've gained within real estate about you, about like everything in general within UK, I would have never gotten that if I was still in Dubai.
Of course.
So I was very much a baby there, and I feel here I've grown 10 years.
Yeah. Well, you have. I mean, sometimes becoming a millionaire, it's not about the million, it's about who you become in the process.
Yeah.
You know, what about you? How's life changed as a result of the business blowing up?
Oh, it is so good. I think it's that once you've made so much happen, you get into that mindset that anything is possible now.
Yeah.
If you put your work to it, your heart to it, it is all possible.
What sort of profits or revenue are you generating?
Okay, so when I first came to you, Discovery Day, I think it was about 9 months ago, maybe, I can't remember. At that point, I was netting about £10,000.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was also running around like a headless chicken. I wasn't necessarily working on the business too much. I was working in the business. I love sales myself, trying to get the properties, because I know it's so hard sometimes to get it, but the thrill that you get after is so pleasurable. So I was working into sales quite a bit. And then getting your advice on how I can 10x that, I changed a lot of the things. At some point, I dropped my net margins at the time, employed more people. Yeah. And now I would say I'm in a very good position to be able to bank my first million very soon.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm excited. And your staff, how did you find them and what happened?
Okay, first thing, I didn't know how to find them. Okay, I found a person who told me, boss, I'll charge you... was it 10% of their annual wage to find you a good employee? I was like, all right, sure, let's do it. And he started sending me about 80 to 90 CVs over a week. And I was like, none of these are good. I didn't know how to advertise for it.
Yeah.
And then one family friend, we hired the first one. But for the second one, she was already on board. So like, why don't we figure it out ourselves? So we went to Google, wrote down on Google, how do I hire an employee? Then we came across Indeed, Total Jobs, LinkedIn. And we're like, oh, that's it. So we started putting our adverts there. I think it was at £15 a day or something we were paying.
Yeah.
And we would get amazing inquiries. So that's how we got them.
What would you say your strongest reason is for I mean, you went through some serious rejection.
Yeah.
You know, some serious hard work, heartache, blood, sweat, tears. What's the strongest reason for going all through that? Why are you doing this?
I'll say 3 things, I guess it comes down to. Number 1, I love it.
Yeah.
The passion for properties. Number 2, Sarah and I, we set an urgency to our goals. We don't want to be billionaires at the age of 60. We want to enjoy it while we're still in 30s.
Yeah.
Right? So whatever goal we have, we 10x the goal. So if I want to make, say, £50,000 per month, I will not keep 50 as my goal. I'd rather keep it as £500,000 as my goal. Then I'll put in more effort. It's the 10x rule. I'll put in so much more effort, more marketing, more investment, more time, more everything. And then even if I fall short of £500,000 per month, I'll still be more ahead than £50,000.
Yeah.
So I put an urgency to everything I have,
Yeah.
making it look like I don't have the time to waste.
Yeah.
And I think was it the 80-20 law, Pareto's law, or something like that, Parkinson's law, that you utilize the time entirely to the goal that you have in space. So if we set ourselves 5 years goal to accomplish that time, we will take 5 years.
Yeah.
If we compress it to 12 months, we can even do it in
And that's
12
exactly what we do, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take people, I'll ask people, what's your 5 or 10 year goal? And then just bring it down to 10 weeks or something crazy. And that's what you've done. I mean, you must have seen something in Abbas as well. You say you always believed in him. And I mean, a couple of years ago, you were basically a bit of a loser, really. You know, you were banging on doors, getting rejected, earning no money, scrapping around. You know, you were failing miserably.
At that time, yeah.
But then you knew that he was going to be successful one day. You saw something in him. What was it that you saw?
It actually, what happened was, this is a bit personal, but I would love to share this with you and, with everybody watching. My grandfather, he started off from scratch. He didn't have anything. And he worked really hard and he did really well in his life. Like really, really well. And he always told, and the way he was very, because he was such a hard worker and because I saw those qualities in him, I felt, okay, this is something, because I don't want, and he doesn't want to settle for less. From day one, he would always tell me, let's do something big. It's just that we didn't know what it would be or what he wanted to do. So when I used to see these qualities in him, I used to feel like it's a lot like my grandfather, it's a lot like my family. So because I was born in a place where I was very much protected, I felt he had those qualities. And I was like, okay, you know what? I think they even share the same birth date. So they're the same star.
Wow.
So I just was like, okay, you know what? This is right. Like you're the one for me. I know you're gonna go far. You're gonna make it. And obviously, it's not just that. It's also about the way he talks to me, the conversations he would have, and instead of talking about just anything, he would always like to bring in business or let's talk about how to multiply this or let's talk about this venture or that venture or I'm trying to start this out. So it kind of gave me a lot about him and how he is as a person, that he likes to talk about knowledge, he likes to talk about business, he likes to talk about money. He loves money. He just loves money.
Conversations change on the dining table.
So I would start off with just talking about the day, and by the end we're just talking about how we should develop this or do that, or tomorrow we should call the solicitors and talk about this. So
he's definitely become a great businessman. There's no doubt.
So going back to when I was he is the person. It's because of all the characteristics that he has now.
Yeah.
He's amplified it, but at that time he had those as well, and he would talk to me about his dreams and passions, and it would always lead to being something big. He wanted to make it big.
Yeah.
So I felt like, okay, this reminds me of my family.
Is he a good husband as well?
Sorry?
Is he a good husband as well?
Oh, he's really sweet. Yeah, he's a good husband.
And a good wife?
Oh, amazing.
You guys are such a great couple. I think one of the things I see in you as well is a couple of things. Number one is your serious resilience.
Yeah.
And then secondly is how addicted you are to growth.
Yeah.
Because if you grow as a person, your bank will grow.
True.
And you've been growing like crazy. And through the discomfort and through the rejection, it's been actually growing you outside your comfort zone. I know I went on some training previously, it didn't really work out, but I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna step up and I'm gonna grow. And as you've done that, you've grown, and then your bank has grown.
True.
And then with a wife who believes in you.
Yeah.
It's just such a beautiful story.
Yeah. I think that compatibility is so important for everyone to be on the same page.
But then a lot of people would have seen you 2 years ago and wouldn't have seen what you saw. They would have just seen a loser or a wannabe, a talker, but now you've backed it up.
Yeah.
Did you have people at the time a couple of years ago that maybe said, be careful, or, weren't sure about you?
Well, yes, of course. I think before
Go on, you wanted to say something, tell me.
Yeah, there were quite a few people.
Yeah.
Because you were like, a little bit, kind of, and she was like, Tell me, what happened?
No, I mean, I just feel like there were so many people that would say, oh, I don't think you should do this. And I feel like they were always putting a stop. And they were always putting fear.
But I'll tell you why. I can also empathize with them to some extent. While growing up, I gave you my story of my father beforehand. He grew up, he was selling oranges on his wedding day.
Yeah.
Nothing. But he died a multi-millionaire with so much land, import, export, all that. And then we kind of lost it all because there was nobody to look after it. So when a family has been burned so much, they're not in a position to take risks, right? So it's subconsciously and unintentionally as well that they're telling you not to do something because they're scared for you to get burnt, right? So there's a family side, and then there's those people who maybe just intentionally don't want you to succeed, right? That say, hey, don't do that, don't grow too big. There's so much problems you're gonna face after. So it is important to have the right people around you. That is so important.
I think most of your friends, they want you to do well, but as long as you're not doing better than them.
Yeah.
But if you're friends with people that are just working a normal job and they don't want you to do better than them, it's just going to keep you in that bubble.
Yeah.
Like a bucket of crabs that keep pulling each other down. Whereas I think certainly the environment that we've created is a group of people that are trying to give each other a leg up.
Yeah.
Through the training and the network. What would you say has been the highlight of the entire process over the last couple of years?
I think the realization that knowledge is everything. Over the past 2.5 years, before I even started a business, I don't think I missed a week where I haven't completed a book.
Wow.
So it's one book a week. I've probably invested more than £20,000 on personal development. Courses, not just property courses, sales courses, marketing courses, all these other types of courses.
Yeah.
So the fact that I've realized that invest your money in knowledge, that information, it's just a simple scenario. If I'm going to tell you about spend £50,000, so 2 years later you can have £500,000. Yeah. It's a no-brainer.
Or in your case, if you're about to bag $1 million, you spent 20 grand.
Yeah.
That's 2%.
Yeah.
That's 2%. I think you have to invest in yourself before you invest in anything else, property or business, because again, the bigger you grow, the bigger your bank will grow. And even if 2 years ago, if your dad or whoever or me had given you £1 million, it wouldn't have done anything for you.
Very true.
It's about who you become in making the money.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely fabulous. Final words of wisdom and advice. You can go first. Someone watching this that's thinking, I'm like Abbas was 2 years ago. I'm banging on the doors and getting rejected. I've been burned. My family are worried and skeptical. I've got nothing. But I have a burning desire in my heart to grow big. What would you say?
If you can think it and you can dream it, then you can do it. There's no way. But if you feel you can't do it, you'll never do it. You can never do it.
Yeah.
So it's all in your head. If you can actually dream it, and I tell Abbas this every day. If you thought about it, if you can dream it, then there's definitely you need to see it, and then you need to make it live.
Yeah.
But if you say to yourself you can't do it, you'll never do it. You can never do it.
Awesome. Abbas?
I think while she was talking, it just clicked my mind that there was a point in life where I had banked about £50,000. And I was thinking that I was going to spend this money into buying my very first property at the time. But looking back, I'm so glad I didn't do that. Rather, I used that money to invest in myself and in business.
Yeah.
And that business has just grown so much that it can take me to places and have more properties now. So that's just one thing I wanted to share. But for somebody out there like me, number one, just invest in yourself. They would say that, I'd rather take a risk into property and all that kind of stuff, buying a property or invest in something. but this is just £2,000. Even if it doesn't work out, it's a risk. You might go to 8 courses, they all might fail, but the 9th one might just hit. Yeah. And that might just take you to places. Yeah. So I think it's just invest in yourself. Crash courses, they shouldn't miss out. Especially you do it for free.
Crash course is free.
Yeah, so that's a no-brainer.
yeah. The crash course. So actually, we're back now. So we're doing tours and stuff across the country. Doing the Property Investors Crash Course. It's free. Then we have the advanced training, deal finding extravaganza. Yeah. But what's the experience been like? What's it been like working with me now for the last couple of years?
Oh, it's been amazing. I think you've been really genuine. I approached you on a DFE. Well, no, before the DFE, on the first crash course, telling you, hey Samuel, I've seen this 3-bed property. I'm doing a rent to HMO on this. Would you share some light? What do you think? You were quite busy, and I didn't expect you to take out the time into actually studying the deal. But you came outside and let me have a look. You looked at the floor plan, you looked at the price, and you're like, you'll get burnt, don't go on this one. And it was a 3-bed, and it's true, now that I look back, if I did go on it, 3-bed, and the location as a HMO, I would have been burnt. Yeah. So I felt your advice was actually genuine, and you do care for the people that you work with.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been amazing.
I really appreciate that. Guys, massive congratulations. Can't wait to stay in touch. If someone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Okay, so first thing, I have a website, 10xrising.com. So that's 10xrising.com. Yeah. You can text me on 07481 297 895. And yes, I have a book publishing very soon, in 2 days. So make sure you buy that. It's called Property Investments Simplified. So nice. I hope that helps. Hey,
dude, massive congrats. And also the fact that you've become successful now, you're not hiding away, you're sharing, you're talking, you're connecting. Much love and respect. So get in touch with these guys. I think you'll agree, what a fabulous story. And listen, if they've been able to do that over the last couple of years, starting with nothing, now got 250 properties that they control, 9 full-time members of staff, just with resilience and knowledge. You can do that too. You don't have to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth. You just need to keep working hard and keep growing and getting the knowledge. If you want to join me at the Property Investors Crash Course or any of our training, I'd like to give you free tickets. I'll leave a link in the description. Get down, come and meet me. Maybe I'll be able to review your deal as well, like I did Abbas. So get booked on. I'll see you real soon. I've done over 100 of these interviews. This stuff works. Check out the interviews. Come to the crash course. Kick some ass. I'll see you soon.